You are now in tune to the most intriguing podcast in the universe. Hosted by the scientist Leon Marshall. Are you ready for Marshall's Melanin Podcast?
Listen, I am fully energized.
Class is in session.
You gonna learn today.
I found it really enlightening, like educational as well. There were a lot of things I didn't know, especially with melanin and like all the benefits of melanin. So I found that very interesting.
I love it because it's so much information, you know, it's entertaining and it's just facts after facts after facts.
This is the podcast where science is made simple and learning is fun. Welcome to Marshall's Melanin Podcast. Now, here's your host, the scientist Leon Marshall.
Yo, Marshall!
Yes. Welcome, family. My name is Leon Marshall, and you're tuned into Marshall's Melanin Podcast. Big up everyone who's tuned in right now. Family, put some ones in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me clearly. Let's test the sound. Let me know where you're tuned in from as well. Yes. Loud and clear. Large up the family. Big up everyone that's tuned in right now. We're going to be talking about that situation that happened at the BAFTAs. And as always, I want you guys to chime in, make your comments, or just tell me what's on your melanin mind. What did you think of the incident? I'm going to show you how this incident demonstrates to a T how racism works. So buckle up. You're in for a treat. Now I've created this podcast so we can all truly understand melanin once and for all. We must change the narrative around melanin if we're ever going to understand it. Changing the narrative means we need to change the language, change the way we talk about and describe melanin scientifically. And that change happens right now.
I've been to quite a few and I've heard Leon talk at other events, and as usual you do come away learning something.
Listen, I am fully energized.
That is brilliant. It's just so informative, mind-blowing. It's something that, you know, it's just put me on a journey of knowing thyself. It's just fantastic.
All right, large up everyone who is tuned in right now. Some people saying that the volume is low, so if you're having issues, whatever device you're using, make sure you got a second device just in case. You know, with these webinars, the usual suspects can be up to their usual tricks. So if you're on your phone, make sure your laptop is ready just in case, you know, something happens. You know what I mean? But yeah, let's talk about what happened at the BAFTAs. And for those of you who are not familiar, if you were living under a rock for the last week or so, here's the gist of what happened.
In a clip that went viral from the British Academy Film Awards, or BAFTAs, a man in the audience can be heard yelling a racial slur as Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo presented on stage.
Part of movie making.
The man shouting was John Davidson. He has Tourette syndrome and was there because a film based on his life was being honored. Earlier that night, he told CNN he was worried about exactly this.
Certain things like today, lots of people around, I'm feeling very, motor text in case I lash out or whatever, so different situations can trigger different emotions and different tics and stuff.
Tourette can involve involuntary motor and vocal tics. In some cases, that includes sudden swearing or shouting, words the person does not intend to say and cannot control. Not everyone with Tourette syndrome has this type of tic. Only about 10% of people with the condition experience involuntary swearing. In Davidson's case, the film about his life shows that his tics can manifest as intrusive, offensive phrases said without intent. The BAFTA audience was warned that involuntary swearing could occur. And after it happened, host Alan Cumming asked for understanding.
Tourette syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette syndrome has no control over their language. We apologise if you were offended.
All right, so since this happened, there's been a lot, well, it's gone viral. Everyone's talking about it. They're talking about it over here in the UK. They're talking about it over in America. There's been a lot of big names that have even commented on it. One of the big names was Jamie Foxx. When it happened, he went on his Instagram and on Twitter, and he was like, out of all the words you could have said, the Tourette's makes you say that word. Yeah. So what's crazy is when he said that, he got a lot of backlash as well, because people started to say, nah, you don't understand the condition. You're ill-informed. And then he was like, he doubled down. He was like, nah, he meant that shit. He meant that. Yeah. And he was like, it's unacceptable. Yeah. And by the way, just a disclaimer, there will be strong language tonight, just to let you know. So I just want to put it out there. There will be strong language, and it is a strong subject that we're talking about, just to put that disclaimer out there. But yeah, he got a lot of backlash. People were like, how dare you say that about the Tourette's community and blah, blah, blah. And one of the people that went at him was our very own Piers Morgan. So Piers Morgan slams shockingly ill-informed Jamie Foxx after John Davidson's BAFTA Tourette's controversy. So Piers Morgan started to go at Jamie Foxx and anyone who was saying, nah, man, this is out of order. These people are trying to tell us that we don't understand. Do you get what I'm saying? Kind of gaslighting us. You guys don't even understand the condition. You guys don't understand. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, family, tonight. I don't understand. I don't have no one in my family who has Tourette's. I'm not familiar with the disease. So when this happened, guess what everyone was saying? Well, I say everyone. Guess what a lot of people were coming out saying to defend this John Davidson dude? They were like, you guys need education. You guys don't even understand the condition. So you had people from the Tourette's community going on TV explaining the condition, like this lady. And by the way, it wasn't just white people, it was white people and black people. There were white people who suffered from Tourette's. This lady on the left, she's a Tourette's activist. And then this young lady on the right, who's black, who suffers from Tourette's. But listen to what they say. Now, I'm here. I never go around thinking I know everything. If I don't know something, I'm going to stay in the question lane. That's what I've been taught. If you don't know something, don't go around making statements. Stay in the question lane. So I'm going to ask questions and listen to the quote unquote experts. So these people are the experts on Tourette's. Let's hear what they say.
It's a very unfortunate situation. I feel really bad for everyone involved. But I hope people do understand that it is like completely involuntary. And it's not that he was like thinking this word before he ticked it. It's completely random, completely involuntary.
Random.
And some people seem to think that like you think and then you tick what you're thinking, but you don't tick what you're thinking. It can be like totally random.
Okay, well, you learn something new every day. So according to that Tourette syndrome activist, she says that you don't tick what you think. So these thoughts that come into your mind, they're not your thoughts. They're very random. Yeah, they come out of nowhere. But then, like some logical people were saying, if it's so random, why did the N-word come out when there were black people on stage? Why didn't it come out when there were white people on stage if it's so random? Do you get me? Yeah. But again, I'm here to learn because I don't know. So I'm just gonna ask questions because I don't know about this this condition, this disease. So let's hear from a black person. Let's hear from a black person who suffers from Tourette's. Let's hear from them.
I have been seeing a bunch of outrage about it, people saying, well, why would that even be in his vocabulary? He did that on purpose and all of this stuff, and that racism is to excuse. A very bitch sad day for the Tourette syndrome community, especially for the ones that have coprolalia, because when you come online and you see thousands of people hating on your condition, specifically coprolalia, because that's something that is already very embarrassing for all of us. I'm not going to say that people can't be offended by the fact that somebody said the N-word as a tick. However, it's not something that somebody can control. It's not something that somebody wants to say.
Okay.
And I've been seeing a lot of people be like, well, he said it like when the crowd went silent. That is most likely when a tick is going to happen, when you're in public, when you're in complete silence, or when you're trying not to say or do something. So we must understand what coprolalia is. Coprolalia causes involuntary swearing and inappropriate tics. This can include the N-word, slurs, etc. I am a black person, and even I have the N-word tick.
Oh.
And slurs as tics. This is something I don't see many talk about because of situations like this.
Interesting. So she was like, I have the N-word in my tick as well. I find that interesting. Yeah. Because again, if it's random, then why would the N-word only be getting spewed at black people? Which is, yeah, but she says it as well. It's uncontrollable and all this sort of stuff. Okay. I'm in education mode. I just want to learn. I want to learn more about this Tourette's condition. Some people in the chat saying, I don't care. No, I want to hear what they got to say, because me, I'm just applying logic to what they're saying. Yeah. Just common sense. So hear from the man himself. This is the guy, John Davison. He says, when he's trying to educate us about his condition, he said, Tourette's can make my body or voice do things I don't mean. Okay, I've heard that a lot. All right, so Tourette's can make my body or voice do things I don't mean. And sometimes those tics land on the worst possible words. I want to be really clear that the intent behind them is zero. What you're hearing is a symptom, not my character, not my thought, not my belief. Yeah? And again, we're going to take this slowly, family. I'm going to show you how this incident shows you directly how racism works. Yeah? Because as some of you know, I've done courses on this stuff. Like, I teach on this stuff. I study this. I'm not just someone who goes around thinking I know what I'm talking about. I've literally studied this. Yeah? So he says that it's not my character, it's not my fault, it's not my belief. He goes on to say, and listen to this, family. I want you to listen to the words. Here's the thing: when it comes on to me, big up the people that have done my white supremacy course, my racism course. You know, you gotta be careful with their words. They're kind of tricky when they use language. So sometimes you gotta read in between the lines. He said, "I am often triggered by what I see and or what I hear." And this part of the condition is called echolalia or something like that. Yeah. So he says, and this is something that the black Tourette syndrome sufferer kind of agree on. She says that often the trigger come from what they see and what they hear. What you see, that's very interesting. So you could be triggered by what you see. So you see two black people on stage. You see two black people on stage, and the first thing, again, they'll say it's not them, it's not their mind. So the first thing that comes to your tick mind, then, because it's not you, it's your tick. The first thing that comes to your tick mind is nigger, nigger. So you've been triggered by what you've seen, because remember, he's seeing two black people, yeah. So just keep that in mind. He gets triggered by what he sees, yeah. And then this is from BuzzFeed. This says, John Davison pointed, and a lot of people are saying this in the chat, by the way. Who cares? Why can't you just apologize? Why didn't you just apologize? Yeah. So John Davison's pointed choice not to apologize to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo for involuntary shouting the N-word at them at the BAFTAs has not gone unnoticed. So a lot of people are like, okay, we get that. It was a mistake. It's your tick. It's not you. It's your tick. Do you get me? You've got a condition, you've got a disability or disease. We understand that. That doesn't mean you can't say sorry, though. Do you get what I'm saying? And some people were saying that online. Some black people were saying that online, and they were getting shouted down. If sometimes you're chatting to people, yeah, and you get those people who, Jamie Foxx even said it in one of his stand-ups. He said, those people who just have moist lips. They got moist lips. or he says they got a juicy mouth. So they're talking to you and spit is coming out of their mouth. Yeah. They're not doing it on purpose. It's not their intention to spit on you, but they're talking to you and spit comes out of their mouth and lands on your lip. Yeah. They didn't do it intentionally, but spit came out of their mouth and landed on their lip. Now, if you turn around to that person and say, hey, bro, hey, you spat on me, man. Come on, man. What are you doing? What is the logical and just the most humane thing to do? Yeah? Wouldn't you just turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry, cover your mouth and say sorry? You didn't do it intentionally, yeah, but you just apologize and say sorry. Right, I didn't even realize it. My bad. You people chatting to you and then tutus accidentally they spit on you. My bad, sorry. What you're not gonna do though is say, come on, I usually spit. Come on, like I've got a condition. Mum, I've got a juicy mouth. For real. It's I've got a juicy mouth. So I'm not gonna apologize for my juicy mouth. That don't make sense, fam. Do you understand? Yeah. So in this, what's crazy is I've been reading the comments of what people have been saying back and forth, yeah? And I've been noticing a lot of people that support this, John Davison not apologizing, they're on some, but did you watch the film though? Did you see the film? So look at this comment in BuzzFeed, yeah? It says, I'm sorry, in addition to the explanation goes a long way. That's what people are saying. You can still apologize. And look at this comment. The comment says, did you see the film? One of the running themes was learning not to apologize for tics. The BBC should have censored it and blah, blah, blah. In other words, it's not his fault. He's got a condition and he shouldn't be apologizing for his tics. And I kept on seeing this in a lot of the comments. Have you seen the film? Did you see the film though? Oh, you guys wouldn't be saying that if you saw the film. Okay. So you're trying to tell me that a film explains everything. We're all supposed to watch the film. Now again, when you got all your eyes open, you pre certain things like that. You pre pattern. So I can see the pattern of everyone talking about, well, have you seen the film? Have you seen the film? Interesting. Keep that in mind, family. But here's where the plot thickens. And by the way, those of you who know me, you know I come from an angle where it's undeniable what I'm going to come with, yeah? So a lot of the chat that's been around this incident, a lot of the chat is missing what I'm going to come with tonight, and I will guarantee that. So let me just start to peel the layers back, yeah? Peel the layers back, because my conclusion may surprise you, family. I'm just going to say that from now. My conclusion about this incident may surprise you. Check this out.
The story I want to talk about, though, is on the front page of The Sun. And this is now John Davison, who the famous BAFTA disaster. He's found someone to blame, and it's the BBC. He says, essentially, in his version of events, we've got a lot of sympathy for him here because he has Tourette syndrome. He said he thought he was in safe hands at the BAFTAs and the BBC should have prevented his involuntary tics from being broadcast. Incredibly, he says there was a microphone near him. And so, of course, we should explain he shouted the most offensive word in the world out at two black actors who were completely bemused by what had happened.
Oh, now there's going to be things that I revealed tonight that a lot of you may know and may know already, but a lot of you may not. Did you guys know that they put a microphone near him? They put a microphone near him. Now, why would they do that, family? So, after it happened, John Davison done an interview with an American magazine. I think it was Variety. So, this is what he said in Variety, yeah? It says, John Davison says BBC should have cut BAFTA slur, yeah? Now, listen carefully, family, because again, these people study us more than we study them. They know that we respond emotionally. Me, I just use logic. I just go straight to the logic. But they know that people respond emotionally, especially when you use charged words like the N-word, yeah? But just listen to what he says in this. John Davison says BBC should have cut BAFTA slur. He goes on to say that the BBC should have worked harder to ensure an involuntary racial slur caused by his Tourette syndrome was not broadcast during Sunday's BAFTA Film Awards. In what is believed to be his first interview since the ceremony, Davison told US entertainment magazine Variety that he had an expectation that the BBC would physically control the sound at the event. You know why he had that expectation, family? Do you guys know why he had an expectation that the BBC would control the sound? Because he met with them before the BAFTAs. He met with the BBC and the BAFTAs because he was nervous that he's going to have these ticks, yeah, at the BAFTAs. And they said, don't worry, we're going to control the sound. Don't worry, all of your swear words would be edited out, yeah? So it goes on to say Davidson could be heard shouting at the Sinners stars Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, presented as they presented the award for special visual effects at London's Royal Festival Hall. He told Variety that a microphone was placed just in front of me. And with hindsight, I have to question whether this was wise. So close to where I was seated, knowing I would tick. Now, again, family, I'm going to take this slowly because I'm going to show you how white supremacy works. I'm going to show you how racism works. And I'm showing it to you from a UK point of view, but this racism, white supremacy is worldwide. So this is how it works, family. They did this on purpose. Hold on a second. They knew he would tick. They sat down and had a conversation with this man prior to the award ceremony and said, don't worry, we're going to control the sound. Don't worry, if you swear, we'll edit it out, yeah? Davidson added, BAFTA had made us all aware that any swearing would be edited out of the broadcast. Davidson added, BAFTA made us all aware that any swearing would be edited out of the broadcast. And check this out, family. Now listen carefully to this. Listen carefully to this. I have made 4 documentaries with the BBC in the past and feel that they should have been aware of what to expect from Tourette's and worked harder. I think he should have said, and they should have been aware of what to expect from my Tourette's and worked harder to prevent anything that I said, which after all was some 40 rows back from the stage from being included in the broadcast. Family, listen to this. And again, when these people talk, I call them the usual suspects. When the usual suspects talk, you got to pick the sense from the nonsense. You got to kind of read between the lines. Listen to what he says. I have made 4 documentaries with the BBC in the past. In other words, you guys have worked with me in the past. You guys know I swear. You guys know I say the N-word. You guys know of my tics. Why would you put a mic in front of me? Why would you not edit this stuff out? You know me. You've worked with me on 4 documentaries. Listen to what this brother's saying, family. Yeah? And to make matters worse, do you know that, and I'm sure some of you already know this, but do you know that these two weren't the only black people that he said the N-word to? In other words, he said the racial slur a couple times that night, but they edited out all the other times and left in this one. Why do you think they left in this one, family? Why did you think that they left in the one where he says the N-word to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, 2 of the stars of one of the biggest movies of last year? Why would they do that? Again, I'm not trying, when it comes onto this stuff, family, I guarantee you I don't use emotion. I just use logic, just common sense. Why would they do that when he used the N-word at other people as well? Maybe, could it be that they wanted to embarrass these two? One thing about racism that you guys need to understand, yeah, is that they don't like when we do things extremely successful away from them, yeah? Sinners was extremely successful, and the powers that be, the usual suspects, they didn't even promote the movie, yeah? They did not promote the movie. But yet it was super successful. Ryan Coogler, who was the director, who also directed Black Panther, another movie that Marvel didn't even promote. Marvel didn't even promote that, and look how big that movie was. When it come on to their other movies like Avengers and that sort of stuff, you had big broadcasts on TV, and you saw it every time you was driving around, big posters and that. They didn't do that with Black Panther, but we made that movie pop off just the same way we made this movie pop off, yeah? Just think about this, family. Again, try to remove the emotion and just think logically. Why did they keep in that one racial slur against these two, yeah? And let me take it one step further, because again, I might be revealing things that some people don't know. Do you know he didn't just say the N word? Do you know that he said homophobic slurs as well? But they edited those out? Yeah? Remember what he said? He said that he gets triggered by what he sees. So guess what? This brother here on the right, I don't know his name, but he was the host of the BAFTAs. He was the host of the BAFTAs. When John Davidson saw this guy, he started ticking and, you know what I mean, calling him all types of homophobic slurs. You get me? Poof that! Fucking poof that! Faggot! They edited out all of that and kept in the N word. Oh, yeah, you guys look this stuff up if you think I'm joking, yeah? He said, because remember, he said he gets triggered by what he sees. He saw this brother and started saying some homophobic slurs. And he didn't even say homophobic slurs. Again, you guys look this up and think that I'm lying to you, yeah? Not only did he say some homophobic stuff to this brother, people saying in the comments his name is Alan Cummins, okay? Alan Cummins, yeah? Do you know he called him a pedophile? That was one of his tics. Again, all of this got edited out, family. So remember, this brother from his own mouth, he says he gets triggered by what he sees. He saw Alan Cummins and was like, pedo! Pedo! Yeah? He called him a pedo, fam. And they edited that out. You know what I mean? So now you're starting to think, bro, why would they edit out all of these other ones, even all the other N-word slurs, but keep that one that was directed at the sinners actors? The plot thickens, family. Check this out.
If you guys think the news that you've been updated on so far on the gentleman, Davidson, with Tourette syndrome, who held the N-word at the BAFTAs is bad, wait till you hear what's been going on since. Warner Brothers warned the brother. They warned the BAFTAs and said, guys, take out that N-word that occurred during the ceremony, because Warner Brothers is a production company that funded the movie Sinners. So they don't want that bad rep or that bad image smeared on them. So they said, take it out. The BBC and the BAFTA said, no problem. But what did they do? They kept it in. They kept it in, but blurred and beeped out. Actually, it took out the whole speech of the Free Palestine guy. Those of you who haven't seen it.
For Nigeria, for London, the Congo, Sudan, Free Palestine, thank you.
So that they took out. But the N-word they kept in, even though Warner Brothers warned the brother. They said, guys, take it out. We got an investment to protect here. Don't embarrass us like you're going to embarrass yourselves. They said, okay, boss, no problem, boss. And they still did it. Then they lied and said, oh, we want to apologize and blah, 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 blah. It was because we're editing in the editing trucks on the go, so the editors must have missed it. Lies. Lies from the BBC. The BAFTAs too. Lies saying, oh, we're sorry to have put you through. That statement that they sent out that I read out yesterday, they said, sorry, we put you through such an uncomfortable situation. The whole time Warner Brothers told you to take it out and you said yes and didn't do it. So now you're liars. You're liars.
All right, we're back. We are back, family. Hold on one second. Let me just go back to the slide. All right. Boom. All right. Just make sure everyone can see everything. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, back to the slide. So back to what I was saying. We got to take this thing slowly. You got to understand, yeah? Warner Brothers, they're trying to protect their product. Their product is Sinners, which was an amazing movie. I think it's the Oscars. Is it the Oscars coming up? Yeah, the recording stopped. There's just the usual suspects up to their usual tricks, family. For those of you who, you know, follow me and listen to my podcast, they do that a lot. Yeah, but check this out. Warner Brothers, they're trying to protect their product. Their product is Sinners. Yeah, one thing about racism is they run it as a business. So don't mess up our product, fam. Take that N-word out. Yeah, remember, like people in the chat were saying, there was a 2-hour delay. There was a 2-hour delay, so they had plenty of time to take out that N-word. And remember, they took out people talking about free Palestine. They took out my guy having ticks about homophobic slurs and all that. They took out my guy calling the host a paedophile. They took out all of that. They even took out a couple other N words that he said, but they didn't take out this one. Yeah. So again, you gotta think to yourself, raw, how? Why would they do this? Again, just using common sense. You gotta ask questions. Why would they do this? Now, I find it interesting that the brother said, my ticks are based on what I see. In other words, I get triggered by what I see. Turns out that happens a lot where people are with the syndrome, they are triggered by what they see. I'm going to show you or play to you two videos from LBC Radio. The one on the left is a white woman that calls up and she's talking about her son and how her son's got the condition and what her son said. I think it was at a football match. Yeah, listen to this.
My son, when he was a child, had the word paedophile stuck in his brain, and would shout that out and shout that out to an umpire during a cricket match. Fathers from the opposition team surrounded him and threatened to punch him. He was 9 years old.
Oh, for goodness sake!
And the more he was intimidated physically, they formed a ring around him and shouted above him.
The fathers did, or
the fathers, and he was sweating buckets. And you know what his physical reaction was? He shouted the word out louder and faster and with gasping air. So please,
but hang on. Didn't his coach come over and say to the fathers, "Hey, calm down. This lad's got a condition here. Just chill a little."
No, because everybody was so shocked as to what was going on. They'd never seen it before. And then when I ran across the pitch to try and, cover him, they started shouting at me, "What kind of parent are you? What have you taught your child?"
How terrible.
Okay, so her son saw some people, and remember, they get triggered by what they see. He might have saw some LGBTQ, and then twos, he's talking about pedo. Again, we can't blame him. You know what I mean? He's just getting triggered by what he's seeing. Yeah. But here's my thing. If you're not, why are you getting angry? She said that these grown-ass men surrounded a 9-year-old and wanted to beat him up. Why would you get angry if a 9-year-old's calling you a pedo? If it's not true. Yeah. Again, remember, we have to show some grace. It's not him, it's his tick. It's not what he's thinking, it's his tick. You get me? And his tick, for whatever reason, gets triggered by what he sees. He saw pedos, he said pedos. Yeah? He saw pedophiles, he said pedophiles. Yeah? John Davison saw 2 black people on stage, he said niggers. Yeah? This is just them. This is them telling you how their condition works. Now listen to the next one now. The next one is of a black woman who calls up and she starts talking about the incident. Listen to what she says.
For people saying that he's a racist, I find that so sad.
Yes, I do too.
Unfortunate.
I do too.
That they've missed.
Well, I don't want to split this particular hair. I don't know that it can be stated with full certainty that no racist with Tourette's would never do this. But anyone who knows anything about John's story knows that certainly is not something that he suffers
Absolutely.
from.
I watched his film last night.
You did,
and I was.
And this is a black woman, by the way. But again, notice the pattern. Oh, if you watch the film, you'd know he weren't racist. What? Oh, yeah, no, I watched the film. It was so amazing. Everyone just needs to watch the film. Watch the film.
He suffers
Absolutely.
from.
I watched his film last night.
You did.
And I will stand by that.
Yeah.
Also, let's not forget the power of the N-word. The power of the N-word and how it hit those 2 actors at the top of their game. So there was a possibility that he could say that. Prepare yourself.
What's the worst thing that can happen? Right, everyone gather round, sitting here in the room. What's the worst thing that could happen? Wouldn't have been that anyone who's seen the film would not have leapt up in shock at the suggestion that he might shout out the N-word when...
All right, so you can tell that they're promoting the film. Family, I'm going to show you how racism works. Racism is a business. They don't react emotionally. Racism is a business. So they've got this film that they want everyone to see. Just think about what I'm saying and just think about the information that I've shared up to this point. They've got a film that they want everyone to see. The film kind of swept the BAFTAs, by the way. The film won a lot of awards at the BAFTAs. Is the Oscars coming up? The biggest film of last year was a black film called Sinners. Now they want everyone to watch their film. How can we get everyone to watch our film? Frig those Sinners people. How can we get all of these people to watch our film? These are just questions, family. But listen to what she says at the end. Listen to what this lady says at the end.
Black actors are on the stage.
James, can I also say, if that was to British actors, it would have died down a lot quicker. The British are very good at brushing over the N-word. They're very good. The African Americans and America, they don't play with that. But we...
I think you're right. I think you're right. And you know, it's not baked into our consciousness in the same way that it is in the United States as well, I think.
Family, does she have a point? Did you hear what she said? She said that the only reason why this is getting all the publicity is because those two actors were from America. They're black Americans. If they were two black British actors, would we have had such an outrage, such a response from this? Would we have? Because she was like, yeah, here in the UK, you know, black people, they don't really go as hard as the American. Does she have a point, family? You know what's interesting? Online, there's a lady from the UK. Her name is London Hughes. She's actually a comedian. She used to live here. She couldn't take the racism here in the UK. She moved and started living in America. She noticed this as well. Listen to what she says about the BAFTAs.
What is so funny to me is that the BBC and BAFTA have not felt heat from black people like this before, because now they're messing with black Americans. The funny thing is to me that BBC have always played in black people's faces, but they were British black people, and we don't really have the numbers in the UK. There's only, we're like 2%, 3% of the country. There's not a lot of us, and we're not really that joint in standing on business. We're not very, as British people, we're more keep calm and carry on. We'll complain, but we won't stand on business. Whereas black Americans stand on business. And anytime BAFTA in the past has played in black people's faces, nothing has been done about it. Like, I remember 4 years ago, BAFTA didn't nominate anyone of color. So and no one, nothing was done. The thing is, to live in the UK as a non-white person, you kind of just have to get used to white people playing in your face. The racism is so real that I didn't realize how racist. I knew Britain was racist, but I didn't know how really racist Britain was until I moved to America. Because there's things that would perfectly slide in the UK that do not slide in America. Like, black Americans do not play. I kind of love them for it. I kind of love them for standing on business in a way that we just can't.
Does she have a point? Again, remove the emotion. Does she have a point? That over here, we don't go as hard as they do in America. Now, when she says we, she ain't talking about me, because I go in with these folks. As some of you know who've been following me for damn near 10 years, I created a course on this thing, the hidden science of white supremacy. I remember when I created this course over 10 years ago, and people who I look up to were like, oh, nah, Leon, don't do that. Leon, don't do that. That's a bit harsh. That's a bit strong. People who I look up to, I'm not going to name no names, fam. And they were like, oh, Leon, nah, I wouldn't do that, you know. Don't call it that. And by the way, because I know some people don't like the term white supremacy, that's their term. I'm using their term. They call the system white supremacy, but they know they're not supreme. And I teach this on the course. Big up all the people that have done my course. I teach this on the course, that they're not supreme, but they've created this system, and they use the system to dominate and mistreat us and make themselves look supreme. Yeah. So I go in here in the UK. I feel like sometimes I'm the only one with the more likely to narrative. Every time the NHS says black people, black men, you're 4 times more likely to die from prostate cancer. Who's the one that's saying that's foolishness? Who's made events and said and made sure you guys know the truth about that stuff? When they were talking about black women are 4 times more likely to die from childbirth, who was making events and letting everyone know that's absolute foolishness? Do you get what I'm saying? So I know she ain't talking about me when we talk about going in with these usual suspects over here in the UK. I used to put on events. Family, put a 1 in the chat if you ever came to my white supremacy events back in the day. This is like 2017, 2018. Family, and my sister's in the chat, she can attest to this. We used to put on events, yeah, white supremacy events, yeah, and we used to say, the tickets were like £20, and we used to say that the venue was a secret location. Who remembers when I used to put on events and I used to put on the flyer, the venue is a secret location, and people would buy their ticket, and then I'd send an email to them a couple hours before the event and say, here's the venue. This is how man used to go in back in the day. You get me? Because I know the usual suspects are watching, man. So I had to do little bamboozle things to make sure that they don't know where the event's going to be. So I tell people, I'm going to go in on this thing, but I can't give you guys the venue. Book your tickets, and then I'm going to send you an email and let you guys know where the where the venue is. Big up all the people putting ones that know this is what I used to do. Do you understand? I used to go in on this thing. And to this day, I'm looking around and I don't see certain man going in. So maybe they have a point. The fact that that N-word was thrown at two black Americans, that's probably the only reason why everyone's talking about this. Jamie Foxx has mentioned it. NAACP awards were yesterday, they mentioned it. If it was two British black actors, what would have happened? If it was bloody Lenny Henry and someone else, what would have happened? No disrespect, but come on now. They would have said the N-word to Lenny Henry and them fools. Nothing would have happened. There would have been no outrage. Do you understand? And when the pandemic happened, I stopped doing my physical events and the course, and I started doing the online stuff. So big up the people who are in my WhatsApp group, and I've posted some of my old lectures. I posted this one, the 10 rules of racism. Now I'm going to show you how they followed the 10 rules of racism to a T at this BAFTAs thing. Yeah. So big up the people that have watched the 10 rules of racism. Fadika, if you can put the link in the chat, or Marcia, of the 10 rules of racism. If you haven't watched it, make sure you watch this old lecture of mine where I break down the rules that these people follow to a T. Yeah. They follow these 10 rules to a T. Yeah. And for those of you who are thinking, where'd you get all this information from? I got my information. I learned from the best, who I consider the best anyway. Two books that helped me understand racism and white supremacy. One was the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, which most people who understand racism will say that's probably one of the best books you could ever read on racism. The ISIS Papers, The Keys to the Colors, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, one of the greats. And then the other book is by her mentor, Neely Fuller Jr., and it has a long title. It's called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. It's a compensatory counter-racist code. And Neely Fuller is the only human being, he's transitioned now, but he's the only one that's made a counter-racist code, because he believes what he calls the white supremacists, what I call the usual suspects, they follow a code. And I'm going to show you that they follow a code. They follow a code. So in order for us to counter that, we need a counter-racist code. His book is the counter-racist code. And I can always tell when people haven't read it and when people are not following the rules, because they make foolish mistakes. And I'm going to show you the mistakes that they make. I'm literally going to show you. Yeah. But for those of you that don't know, Neely Fuller Jr., he was Dr. Francis Cress Wilson's mentor, and he had a very popular saying. And his very popular saying was,
if you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
If you do not understand racism, which is white supremacy, everything else you think you understand will confuse you. Yeah? So Neely Fuller, in his book, he observed that contrary to most present thinking, there is only one function in racism in the known world, and that's white supremacy. And again, for the people who get triggered by the term white supremacy, understand that's what they call the system. So when I say white supremacy, I'm not calling them supreme. I know it's a projection. I know these people are not supreme at all. They're the biggest cowards in the world. Yeah. But their system is called white supremacy. So I'm using their term, white supremacy. And racism is white supremacy. Yeah. And what is it? According to Neely Fuller, it's a system designed to dominate and mistreat people of color in all 9 areas of people activity. Why? For fun, glory, and material gain. And I'm going to break down each one of these. They do this. You got to think, why do they do this? Why do they run this system? And Neely Fuller says they run this system like a business. They run it like a business, yeah? And they run it like a religion. He says this is the only religion on the planet. And the white supremacists, they follow this religion to a T. They do it for fun, glory, and material gain. So they do it for fun, yeah? They have fun by creating this system and dominating people, yeah? Dominating people of color, black people, melanated folks, whatever. Glory, that's where they want to look supreme. So they'll create this system. The system is supreme. They're not supreme, but because they created the system, or they just abide by the system, then they look supreme. So that's another reason why they do it, for glory. And the last one is material gain. In other words, like any business, you want some financial compensation from what you're doing. So you need some material gain, whether it's finance, whether it's resources, oil, whatever, minerals. So this is the reason why they do it in all areas of people activity, 9 areas. And for those who are interested, these are the 9 areas here: economics, education, entertainment. That's what we're talking about tonight. Labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Yeah. Now I just want to go through some of the mistakes that we make, family, by not reading this book and not following a counter-racist code. At the beginning of the book, Neely Fuller breaks down a couple definitions. He breaks down a couple things that he needs to make clear. The first thing that he needs to make clear is who are the experts when we are talking about racism and white supremacy. So this is directly from the book, family. The question is, during the existence of white supremacy, which is racism, which persons are the only experts in knowing and understanding how white supremacy is practiced? Answer: those white people who practice white supremacy. Listen carefully, family. Class is in session, yeah? There's no other experts other than those white people who practice white supremacy. Now, why do I say that? Because we sometimes believe we're experts. We go on TV talking about, let me tell you white people about racism. Let me explain to you how this thing works. Let me explain to you how racism works, not realizing that they are the experts. And by big up the people that have done my course, I show this, I always say. So anytime you see black people talking to white people on TV, yeah, about racism, who are the experts? These are the experts. They're the experts. We should be in question mode, asking them questions. We shouldn't be making no statements. Do you understand? And this is not according to Leon Marshall. This is according to the code, yeah? The counter-racist code. And there's only one book on the whole planet that has a counter-racist code that we should be following. And I decided a very long time ago to follow the counter-racist code, yeah? Because there's only one book, and it's by the master teacher, Neely Fuller Jr. And you'll find that a lot of black Americans follow the code. That's why they're so on code when it comes to racism. Yeah, in the UK, a lot of people, they just don't understand the code. You've got to follow the code, fam. Yeah, and I'm going to show you what happens when you don't follow the code. So now you know who the true experts are, and you know why they do this. They do this for fun, glory, and material gain. One thing that they like to do for fun is to create confusion and then act fake confused. How do they create confusion? Again, if you've watched my 10 Rules of Racism, I've shown examples of how they create confusion. Here's one of the examples. So a couple years ago, they put out a story about Dawn Butler. But when they put out the story, they had another MP, her name's there, Marsha D. Cordova. They put out a picture of another black woman, and it was a story about Dawn Butler, yeah? Now remember, this is a rule of them for the people that have watched the 10 Rules of Racism. One of their rules is to create confusion, then act fake confused. They know what they're doing when they do this, but we don't. We feel like they've made a mistake. They don't make a mistake when they do this foolishness. So check this out, and let me show you how it's a system. It's not just one person or people calling you the N-word. It's a system. So this says news outlets criticized for mislabeling photos of black MPs. Look how many people were involved in this quote unquote mistake. The BBC, hint, hint, wink, wink, Evening Standard, and Getty Images all apologize after embarrassing mix-up. It wasn't an embarrassing mix-up, family. They do this on purpose. Remember, for fun. This is shits and giggles to them. Excuse my language, but I said there would be strong language. This is shits and giggles to them. They do this for fun. Let's put out a story about Dawn Butler, but use another black woman for the image. Yeah? Ha, ha, ha. Yeah? And then because we don't understand that they're doing this on purpose, Dawn Butler goes on social media talking about, oh, I love my sister Marsha D. Cordova, but we are two different people. Like, why would they make that mistake? They make it on purpose, family, because that's one of their rules, to create confusion, then act fake confused. You want some more examples? They do it in football. Yeah, this was a couple years ago where they had a story about a footballer called Lukaku, and they used Stormzy as the picture. You really think these people love football? You really think they done this as a mistake? No, they did this for fun, glory, and material gain. They do this for shits and giggles. Let me show you another one. This is NBC News. This was around COVID-19, yeah? Who remembers when Usain Bolt caught COVID? He tested positive for COVID. Look at the picture that they used. World record sprinter and 8-time Olympic gold medalist Usain Bolt has tested positive for the coronavirus and is self-isolating at his home in Jamaica. Come on. Yeah? Again, it seems like this is the reason why I do the courses, so we don't fall for this foolishness, because other people will watch this and there'll be some emotional outrage because of what they do. Look at this. They even do it with dead people. These people, they do it for fun, but it's disrespectful. They did it when Kobe died. And look who it was again. BBC. Hint, hint, wink, wink. BBC apologizes for using LeBron James footage in report of Kobe Bryant's death. They do this for fun. These people are scumbags. They do it with the dead, playing games, shits and giggles. Yeah? So now look at this. This is another thing. Again, for the people that have watched the 10 rules, you understand this is one of their rules. So check this out. Going back to the BAFTAs. BBC launch fast track investigation into N-word slur at the BAFTA Awards. Now, let me see how many people have watched the 10 rules of racism. Who remembers what I said they do when they say that they're going to launch an investigation? Yeah? So check this out. It says here, BAFTA insider claims the BBC knew what happened before the N-word slur was aired on TV. Yeah? So now they're going to investigate their own mistake. It says there on the right, an investigation is currently underway to get to the bottom of what the BBC has since called a serious mistake. So yeah, big up the people who watch the 10 rules of racism. Put it in the chat. Who knows exactly what they mean when they say they're going to launch an investigation? What does that mean they're going to do? And for those of you who don't know, here's a short clip from that 10 rules of racism lecture. And this is me explaining exactly what it means when they say they're going to launch an investigation.
Stratum. But this is what they do. They launch an investigation. But now we know, family. Let's all say it together. When they say they're going to launch an investigation, that means they're going to do absolutely, positively, let's say it together, family, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Thank you. Absolutely nothing. And where's the examples? Remember when they launched an investigation into the Grenfell Tower? What happened in that investigation, family? Put it in the chat. Nothing. Remember when they launched an investigation into the Stephen Lawrence murder? What happened there? Nothing. Remember when they launched an investigation into the reason why the BAME community were dying from COVID-19? What happened there? What happened with that investigation? Nothing. Now, there's a Windrush scandal and they're investigating the Windrush scandal. What do you think is going to happen after that investigation? Put it in the chat. Nothing. Nothing. So when these people say they're going to launch an investigation, you now know they're going to do absolutely nothing. Yeah? So now big up the people that understand the rules. Now you know when you hear that investigation term, you know that's foolishness. They're going to do nothing. And they say it to appease us. They know that, you know, as time goes by, people will forget this BAFTAs thing and we don't need to worry about no investigation. They say it just to kind of calm us down. Don't worry, we're investigating it. Yeah? And we fall for it every time because we don't know the 10 rules of racism. Let's move on. Now I'm going to show you a clip from Dr. Shola. And I think some people were mentioning her earlier in the chat. I'm going to show you, she's going to make 2 mistakes. And I want you guys who have either been on my course or you've watched the 10 rules of racism, just put in the chat the 2 mistakes that she made when she was talking about this BAFTAs thing. And guess who she's up against? the expert, Piers Morgan. Listen.
Dr. Solar, let me start by just playing something that you did as a video post on your X account, which has been viewed so far by 1.4 million people.
Some of you are getting on my last God-given nerves. The fact that I have to come up here to break down for you the ABCs 1, 2, 3 do-re-mis of racism, because some of you have the bombastic audacity to want to litigate the racial intent of a white man and absolve him of racism because of his disability. Now, I'm going to make time for you today. Let me say this in plain English because I'm not speaking Latin or Swahili. John Davidson is a racist white man with Tourette syndrome.
All right. What were the 2 mistakes that she made, family? Again, according to who? Leon Marshall? No, according to the code. According to the code, she made 2 mistakes. What were the 2 mistakes? 1, she carried on like she's the expert. Let me tell you, white people, exactly. She carried on like she's the expert. You're not the expert, fam. That was the first mistake that she made. And what was the second? Big up Cynthia. Big up the people in the chat. This is what I teach people on the course. What is the one thing you should never, ever say to a racist? You're a racist. Yeah? You should never. And obviously people who are listening to this who haven't done the course, they'd be like, what? That doesn't make sense. This is why you gotta read the book or come onto my course and do the course. You gotta understand that calling them a racist does not work in a system of white supremacy because you can't prove it in this system that is governed by them. You can't prove it. Yeah. And let me just show you how they all stay on code. Let me show you the expert. Here's the expert, Piers Morgan. Watch how he stays on code when people call him a racist.
I don't feel that you are a racist. I'm sorry. And if people say to me, Piers Morgan, I will 100% say
I don't have a racist bone in my body.
Because
Boom. How can you come back from that? I don't have a racist bone in my body. What are you gonna say? Yes, you do. What are you gonna do? Cut him up and look at his bones? That's it. This is their code. They stick to a code. You don't believe me? Here's another one. This brother's, what's his name? Geraldo or whatever. He's gonna be talking about Donald Trump. How does he defend Donald Trump? Listen.
First of all, let me say in bold letters, I've known Donald Trump going into 4 decades. He doesn't have a racist bone in his body. I know that for a fact.
He knows it for a fact. All right. That's him talking about Donald Trump. What about Joe Biden? What would he say if someone called him a racist?
Adding, you don't joke about calling black men boys. That brought this response from the former VP.
Corey should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period.
Period. You understand? These people stay on code and don't think it's just in America. Let me show you over here. This is, what's her name? Talisa. She was part of a group called N-Dubs back in the day. A black, or I shouldn't say black, urban group. It had a young black boy in there, another boy who I don't know what race he was from, and then Talisa, who's a white woman, or she was a white girl at the time. An urban group, yeah? Doing raves at, black events and all that. She was properly part of the quote-unquote community, yeah? Anyway, she ended up doing something racist a couple of years ago, and guess what she said to defend herself?
But please believe me when I tell you, I do not have a racist bone in my body.
See? These people follow a code. They all follow the same code. So we need a counter code, and it's been written by Neely Fuller. So we need to remove the emotion and all follow the counter code. Just proving to you they follow a code, we need to follow a code. And let me show you that Dr. Shola, I know people love her, but she doesn't follow the code. So now when she goes up against the expert Piers Morgan, guess what happened to her? Piers Morgan tears her apart. Listen to this.
That I've ever had to endure and witness. Would you like to start by offering a profound apology to John Davidson, who, as anybody who understands Tourette syndrome knows, has absolutely no control over what he says, including any racial insults or slurs he may utter, because people with Tourette's have no control?
Oh, not just to, I noticed that you didn't play the whole video that actually addresses many other points, but not just to John Davidson, because I spoke about this in my live stream. I made an incorrect statement in my video. And by saying that having a bank of words or of vocabulary in your heart, mind, and soul it implies that anybody with a Tourette syndrome subscribe to what has come out of their mouth. So that in itself is harmful to that community. And that community is not just John Davidson. It also includes Black people with Tourette syndrome. So I most definitely, and I'll say that now, even though I apologized in my live stream yesterday, I unequivocally and apologetically, I'm sorry for the, for that incorrect statement, because that is incorrect. What I also said in my video, which you haven't played, is to address the impact on Black people. And my video was addressing those who are trying to weaponize his disability. So in my attempt to bridge the gap, to address them weaponize his disability to erase lived experiences of Black people, I ended up creating a gap. And by creating that gap, I am responsible for closing it by acknowledging that it's an incorrect statement, apologizing because it's wrong, and then taking myself back to school to educate myself on Tourette's.
Well, it might have been helpful if you'd actually watched the movie or educated yourself about Tourette's before you launched this attack on John Davidson.
This is what happens. Carrying on like you're an expert, and then you go head to head with an expert and he tears you apart, makes you grovel, makes you look stupid, yeah? And big up someone said she needs to do more course. Yeah, she needs to do the course and she needs to read the book. She needs to follow the code. She follows the code, she'll be more well equipped when she goes against the experts. Because she don't follow the code, she makes full mistakes talking about, yeah, I'm the expert. Let me teach white people about racism. They created the system. Who are you trying to teach? This is their system. How are you trying to teach them about the system that they created? Piers Morgan is the expert, fam. He is the expert. And look what they did to her. Look at this. And again, big up the people that have watched my 10 Rules of Racism. So since this come out, check this out. All the a lot of the news outlets, they're running with a picture like this, and it says, "You're a vile race baiting clown. Piers Morgan slams Dr. Shola after she calls John Davidson a racist white man following his BAFTA remark." Who's that? Who's this woman that they're showing on the screen, family? Who is this woman? That's not Dr. Shola. But again, he embarrassed her on his show, and now they're embarrassing her afterwards. We're gonna talk about you and not even put your picture up. We're gonna put a picture up of someone else just to embarrass you. Why do they do this? For fun, glory, and material gain. They're doing this for shits and giggles. They're doing this for shits and giggles, and now you know this is one of their code. This is one of their tactics. This is not a mistake, fam. Everyone who's done my course and done the 10 rules, they know this is what they do. Do you understand? Who's this woman? Who is this woman? Yeah? And I know some people who haven't done my course or, haven't been following me for a little while, they must be thinking, wait a minute, this sounds crazy. You're saying that we shouldn't call racist. Then what should we be doing? I don't get it. Well, Neely Fuller says that you shouldn't call anyone a racist. However, he has a term called, in his book, he has a term called racist suspect, yeah? And he says, what is a racist suspect? A person who is able to be a racist. In a system of white supremacy, we are duty bound to suspect any person of being a racist, yeah? So he says you shouldn't call any white person a racist, but you should suspect that they could be. Now, again, if you haven't done the course or you haven't read the book or this is your first time tuning into a Marshall's Melanin podcast, that's going to sound crazy to you. You shouldn't call them a racist, but you should suspect that they could be. Yes. And he says you're duty bound. You are duty bound. You do this to protect yourself. And this is, if you take away the emotion, this is just simple logic. You're not calling no one a racist, but whatever white person you meet, they could be. And that means your teacher at school, who's, oh my gosh, she's so amazing to me and she's so polite and she, you know what I mean? You have a great relationship with your teacher at school. Could be. She's still a racist suspect, according to the code, not according to Leon Marshall. Yeah? Your friend who you grew up with at school, you and your friend, oh my gosh, my white friend, I love my white friend. he still could be a racist. People don't understand this. That's why black people are quick to be like, no, not my friend Johnny. I know him. No, I know him. Me and Johnny grew up together. No, he's not a racist. How do you know? Can you see his bones? Yeah? Because that's the only way, according to the white supremacists, that's the only way you know if someone's racist. Can you see their bones? How do you know they ain't got a racist bone in their body? Do you get me? And for the people who think, oh, no, this don't make any sense, let me show you this clip from Muhammad Ali. And again, it's just simple logic, family. Listen to the way he breaks this down, where he's talking about rattlesnakes. Listen.
There are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a Sheol? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
Logic, just common sense. He's not saying that all the rattlesnakes are going to bite him, but he is duty bound to protect himself. So he suspects that they all could be. He's not saying that they all are dangerous. He's not saying that they all are going to bite him, but he's not going to be surprised if one of them does. That's how we need to be with the system. I'm not saying white people are racist. I'm saying that they could be. So anytime it comes out in the news or in the media that such and such is a racist, no black person should be surprised. No one should be surprised. Oh, such and such. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that such and such. He was in that movie. Turns out he's a racist. Well, that's cold. You're supposed to suspect that they're racist anyway, until they prove you otherwise. Yeah. And again, you're duty bound to suspect it. You're not calling no one racist. You're just protecting yourself, like Muhammad Ali. Yeah. And again, I know for a lot of people, this might be a hard pill to swallow. I'm not getting this. Yeah, I might have to run the course again. Actually, if one of the admin can find some of the clips, some of the white supremacy classes, and post them in the chat, because you know what happened? I ran the courses. Obviously, I record everything that I do, and then I put the courses on my website. It was a members only website. Well, the usual suspects, they attacked my website and brought it down. So now I don't have a website. So guess what? I put all of those classes, those white supremacy classes, I put them on YouTube. So you guys can find all of the classes on YouTube. So you don't even need to book onto a course. Let me see if I can get the links. I'll get the links and I'll post them. If you can find the links, post them, yeah? Literally, I put the whole course online, yeah? Because people need to understand this, yeah? Now, let me show you. We talked about they do this for fun, glory, and material gain. I showed you what they do for fun. Yeah, I showed you what they do for fun and glory. Now, let me show you how they make money from this thing. Yeah, because remember, white supremacy is a business. Who remembers this scumbag? Who remembers this scumbag? Yeah, and this is her with her Down syndrome kids. This woman, yeah, in America, this woman called a young black disabled boy, he's 5 years old, she called him the N-word. Listen to this.
You're a kid, you call him a... You're a child?
What if he acts like one? It's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
Yeah, he took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5 years old the N-word?
If that's what he's gonna act
That's what you're gonna call him?
If that's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit. Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Lord have mercy. Now let's talk about the fundraising. Shiloh decided to become the victim. Okay, she set up a fundraising page for herself, which she titled Help Me Protect My Family. Okay, in case you missed the news report, she claimed in the page description that she is now in a dire situation. She says, I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was. Then she claimed that members of her family are being attacked and her personal information, including her address and phone number, has been leaked. You aren't being attacked, Shiloh. You are being called out and held accountable because you called a little 5-year-old boy the N-word. And accountability feels like an attack when you're not ready to acknowledge your toxic behavior. Now, Shiloh concluded her message by asking for funds to assist in protecting my family and potentially relocate. Yet another example that free speech ain't free. Why are you using words that you can't afford to use, Shiloh? Now, Shiloh's fundraising goal was originally set for 50 grand. But as you heard in the news report, it was increased to $1 million after that initial amount was reached. And as of yesterday, Sunday, May 4th, she has raised over $624,000 because she called a little 5-year-old boy the N-word. And you wonder why some people spell America with 3 Ks. Now, first thing I did was look into the fundraisers policies, and Give Send Go, that's the name of the platform, Give Send Go said the company does not endorse or condone the personal views or actions of individual campaign organizers or their supporters, nor do we control the motivations of donors. Basically, is nothing they can do about it. Okay, there is no violation on their end, but you do know, Give Send Go, that you are complicit in rewarding racism. Call it what it is. They are rewarding Shiloh's racism. Only in America can you call a 5-year-old boy the N-word, okay, get called out on it, and then play victim and raise almost $700,000 because of your bigotry.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah. So she calls. I remember the boy was 5 years old and he was disabled. I think he was disabled. I can't remember what his disability was, but she called him the N-word because apparently the boy was, I don't know, went into a bag or something like that. She called him the N-word, was chasing after him. Then this brother was like, "What are you doing, man? You calling a little 5-year-old?" She was like, "Yeah, he's acting like it." And now she went on, did he say GoFundMe or whatever it was? And she said, "Oh, I need to protect my family. You guys give me donations." And she started to make, first of all, it was 50,000 she was after, but then it went, obviously the story went viral. Again, Black Americans, they don't play about with their racism in America. So it went viral. You know, this woman raised $1 million. Yeah. So she become a millionaire from racism. That's why people need to understand racism is not just people calling you names. They do it, like Neely Fuller says, they do it for fun, glory, and material gain. This woman became a millionaire from saying the N-word. Now I want people to start putting 2 and 2 together, because what happens over there tends to be the same sort of thing over here. This woman became a millionaire from saying the N-word. I wonder if people are going to start putting 2 and 2 together. Yeah. Now, because that happened, the brother who owns the website, Give Send Go, he was under pressure because people were like, "She's benefiting from racism. Why are you letting her gather all this money on your site?" Listen to what he says.
Give, Send, Go. And joining me now, the co-founder and CFO, Jacob Wells. Jacob, thank you for being with us tonight. I guess I just don't understand why you would want to allow this woman, Shiloh Hendricks, call the little boy the N-word, and the video is just awful. And then in the description on your website backs it up again. Why not just block her? And she's raised almost $1 million, so she's now going to be a millionaire, and that's because of you, it seems like.
Well, it's definitely not because of me. It's because of people donating to her, which I'm not one of them. We're a platform, so people are donating to her from a variety of different places. But the deeper question, one is, why do we allow campaigns that even we sometimes may disagree with? Well, because in America, we have freedoms that came at a very high price.
All right, family. Then he starts explaining, saying why he allows her to make money from racism. This is how the system works, family. Yeah. Now, who's putting 2 and 2 together? Why did I show you all of that? Why did I just go through all of that? Let's take it all the way back to what we started with. Yeah. What do you think's going to happen to this Tourette syndrome guy from saying the N-word? What do you think's going to happen, family? Who's going to start putting 2 and 2 together? Remember, there's Tourette's charities out there. There's Tourette's charities. Yeah. What do you think's going to happen to those Tourette syndrome charities, family? Let's see if people are putting 2 and 2 together. What's going to happen to this brother and all of these Tourette syndrome charities and these organizations, these Tourette's activist organizations? What do you think's going to happen to them? Yeah, now people are starting to put 2 and 2 together. Well, guess what? It's already happening. Check this out. Tourette Scotland, which is a charity, has seen cash pledged from all over the world. Uh-oh. What did Neely Fuller say? For fun, glory, and material gain. You don't think this guy, this incident, you don't think it's gonna make this brother a millionaire? You don't understand racism if you don't know what's about to happen to this brother, fam. He's about to make 1 million from this, yeah? And everyone who's connected with him, like Scott's Tourette's charity, they're gonna get donations from all over the world. You know why? Because racism, white supremacy is global, fam. Everyone saw that thing with the BAFTAs. You don't think racists from all over the world are like, hey, let's come together, let's donate, come on, let's donate. This is how it works, family. So he does maybe, and this is just me putting two and two together. This brother doesn't even know how white supremacy works because he's like, why did the BBC do this? It seemed like they were setting him up. They put a mic there. They knew he was going to say the N word. They knew that there'd be outrage. They knew that it would go viral. They knew that this would be the biggest story. They knew they could make money from it. They knew that, all these Tourette's charities would start receiving donations. Yeah. Yeah, this is chess, family. It's not checkers. It's chess. Yeah. Watch how all of these charities, all of these Tourette syndrome charities start to make millions. And let's not forget the movie. Watch what happens to that movie. What sort of awards that movie's going to get to. Yeah? And on that note, I'm going to open up the floor and allow you guys to make your comments, ask your questions, or just tell me what's on your melanin mind. Yeah? Put two and two together, fam. This is no emotion. This is straight logic. This is how the system works. Do you get what I'm saying? That brother's due to be a millionaire in next week, if not next month. All right, let's get some people to chime in. Virginia, you can unmute your mic. Virginia. Hello.
What did you ask me?
You raised your hand, so I'm asking you if you want to speak.
Oh no, fine, thank you.
All right, no worries. All right, remember, raise your hand if you want to go live, family. If you don't want to go live, put your hand down. All right, let's go with Mike. Mike, you can unmute your mic. Mike, unmute your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, bro. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Appreciate for your lecture. I've been attending since long time, like since Croydon, and I have one question.
Yes.
How can we organize to structure our own economic? Because at the end of the day, we're living in their own economic system. It's pretty much difficult to counter that when the rest of us are disorganized, are not aware of the real information which you're providing. So how can we capitalize and make our own so that we can create our own system?
Yeah, so kind of like what I did with my courses and what I did with my events, we kind of have to do it low key. One thing about racism, especially in the UK, is they're very covert with it. They're very secretive with what they do, and they don't really allow people to understand what they're doing. Unfortunately, we as Black people, we're not like that. We love just loving on each other and sharing our culture and sharing our language. We're not going to be able to do that if we want to really progress in this system. So we got to do things where we're sharing information just amongst each other. We're not sharing it with the world. We're sharing it with just amongst each other. We're sharing resources just amongst each other and that sort of stuff. And that's going to be difficult because a lot of us don't trust each other. Do you understand? So yeah, we got to get to a point where we're all on code. So for me, one, educationally, we all have to be on code. So for me to be really building with someone, they need to make sure that they know the code, just like I know the code. The same way I showed all of those clips of all of them saying the same thing. I don't have a racist bone in my body. I don't have a racist. They all respond the same way. That's how we need to be. We all need to respond in the same way. You get me? There shouldn't be one of us with this opinion and then the next one with that. No, that's not code. Code means you all are on the same page. And that's going to take a bit of time, unfortunately.
So it goes back to identity and knowing one's culture so that everyone can be in code and understanding what's going on.
Yeah, knowing your culture, knowing where you come from, and understanding what I call the usual suspects. Neely Fuller calls them the white supremacists. I call them the usual suspects because there is nothing supreme about them. You can't just know yourself. You got to know your enemy. You can't just
True.
read books about your culture and then wonder why things went wrong in your culture, in your land. It's the usual suspects every time. It's the usual suspects. So we need to understand the usual suspects to the point where I call them the usual suspects, and I say they're always up to their usual tricks. To the point where you can predict what they're going to do. When this BAFTA thing happened, I kind of predicted, Raj, you know what? I feel like they're probably going to start donating to this brother or donating to Tourette syndrome charities and blah blah. They're going to make him a millionaire. Do you get what I'm saying? That's not me being smart. That's me following the code. These people, the usual suspects, they haven't changed. They always do the same thing. They follow the code. So if you know the code, you know what they're gonna do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, appreciate. I understand. Thank you.
Nice one, bro. All right, let's get Glenda. Glenda, unmute your mic, sis? No? All right, we want to be quick here now, family. You gotta be quick. Let's get Freddie in the bill. Oh, Glenda, you there?
Why? I didn't even touch anything. But anyway, love what you've been saying, and
thank you, sir.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm of the era when I was 50s, late 50s born. So we've been through all the traps of being called everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Most probably when if I was those men, I'd have come down off the stage and just thump the man in my mouth.
Exactly.
End of story.
Yeah.
So it did the last time we named that young man and the other them. Then it'd be a better story.
Like
what you said, all what you're saying is true. They love to make mockery of us
Mm-hmm.
and they turn around and benefit from it.
Yes.
And then we now come with our ways, come to see if we can try and sort it all out. But like you said, you only can sort out through business when we keep our business to ourselves.
Boom. Boom. Thank you, sis. There you go. All right, Freddie, you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, bro. How are you?
I'm very well, Leon. You're on fire tonight. You're doing a fantastic show.
Thank
And I'm so grateful that I came across you through the pandemic and following your courses and doing your courses. It's enlightened me so much.
Thank you.
And what we do to all the people here, you just need to go on those courses and do an inside job on yourselves, because we've been told a load of lies and we have to work on ourselves to be able to change how we think.
There you go. Thank you, my bro. Appreciate you, bro. All right, let's get Chancellor D in the building. You there, bro?
Yes, greetings, Leon, man. How is the sea antics today?
Well, we have to show them, man. We have to show them. Do you understand?
Sea antics. Yes, yeah. You know, almost throughout the whole day before your podcast, I was in another chat room and they was discussing this same incident, you know. And there was a couple of people in the chat room who actually went and see that Tourette's film. So now all of a sudden they're experts on it and was defending him, you know.
Lord.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and had all kind of reasons why we shouldn't be upset and stuff like that. Me personally, I didn't even realize that the two brothers, Mr. Lindahl, and you know, I didn't even realize it was the Sinners film there was up there, because I can't remember none of the reports saying what they was receiving their awards for, what film and stuff, you know. But I knew about that Tourette's film, you know. My question is, how should we react? And I do have a suggestion if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, go for your suggestion. Go.
Yeah, I would say no black person. Well, first of all black persons should get a recording of that so-called fake confusing blip what the BBC done, and then no black person should pay TV license. Me personally, that I would say for life, for the rest of our time in England, but you know, even for a year, you know, because like you just pointed out, they do things for profit. So hit them where it hurts, you know. You know, and if they draw you in court, they will try and pick us off one by one. we'd have played the video of them doing that, airing that slur, as well as the reports that you actually gave that, yeah, he was ticking throughout, he was blurting out things throughout the whole
whole
program.
thing. Yep, yep.
Yes, yeah, and then ask the BBC, ask the BBC, how does that represent you as a diverse company, like you always boast, like you're supposed to include anyone. And I'm not paying no TV license, make them come for me.
Oh, oh yeah, I don't do none of that stuff to be honest.
Yeah, but as a because like we do kind of need like a protest group, like a group, but this to me is the stand we need to take. None of us should be paying no TV license, which means we have to start discussing it with our elders and those who are kind of timid.
Yeah.
But that's the action I only see. I don't know if you have any other suggestions.
Yeah, nice one, bro. To be fair, I might have to do a podcast on that stuff because there's ways around that sort of stuff. Why would you be paying these people? These people are pedophiles and they're psychopaths. You get what I'm saying? And that's from John Davidson. You understand? John Davidson saying, I just say what I see. Pedos. He knows they're pedophiles. You get me? So I couldn't stop saying it. So yeah, why am I paying pedophiles for a bloody TV license? What are you giving me on TV? You're showing me two black men getting abused, racially abused. Nah, man. But yeah, I might have to do another podcast for that. But with regards to how we should respond, we need to respond strategically because again, I just showed that they set this up to the point where the brother didn't even know he was getting set up. The brother, John Davidson, don't even realize how racism works. They set him up. They put a mic near him, even though he was 40 rows back. They knew exactly what was going to happen. He didn't realize why they were doing it, but he don't realize that he's going to benefit in the long run because he's going to be financially benefited from it, from charity donations and all that sort of stuff. I think the same way they create confusion and act fake confused, we need to act fake confused with them. We need to carry on like when they say these things, it's trauma to us and we need compensation when they do it. Do you understand? It is trauma, and then get scientists like myself or other people to do research and say, yeah, do you know what? When the N word is said, it actually does create trauma and boom, boom, boom. Then now we can try and make money from them and get them to stop saying it. You get what I'm saying? Or get them to just not even stop saying it. But we need to be able to benefit financially from racist incidents. The same way they benefit financially from racist incidents, we need to benefit financially from racist incidents. All right. Who else? Sis Abimbola. Are you there, sis? And then I'll get Sekhmet. Sekhmet, you can come in, sis. Come.
Yep. Greetings. Good evening. Thank you for the podcast. Very interesting, Leon. Just a couple of things. One, I think the idea of, because I don't have a TV license, I got rid of that years ago because, as you said, it's just programming anyway. Who wants to watch their tele lies and their negativity, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
So I think that would be the ideal time to hit them where it hurts with the finances. And just as a principle, because even if that didn't happen, Babylon Broadcasting Corporation isn't serving the interests of the Black community. Yeah. Now, in regards to the issue at the BAFTA, I mean, I didn't even know about that condition till the whole thing became public news because of what went on. I've been listening to some of the conversations, and I take the view as someone was saying on another platform that just because he's got a disability, you can't excuse his bigotry. And I would also go so far as to say, again, listening to people talking about it, that he hasn't profoundly apologized. Apparently, he kicked off in front of their queen before she died. It was at some event, and there was some outburst where he was regarded as being, disrespectful to their monarchy. He profoundly apologized for that. He hasn't, as far as I know, done the same with these two black men. So whilst his disability could be used as an explanation, he needs to give a profound apology. Any money made as a result, which is why I think it's suspect, because I recognize this whole thing about he's going to be bankrolled because of it. To consider giving some of that to a black charity.
There you
go. So there's things that they can do to actually prove that they're genuinely sorry.
That's right.
So yeah, it is without a shadow of a doubt. And interestingly enough, I was writing about how the best way that we can protect our psyche and our community is to, you keep telling us, read those key texts so that when these things happen, whilst it's upsetting, it doesn't hit us the way it would do if we didn't have a clue as to why this is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not to say we're going to say, okay, fine, whatever. It just means to say that we're war hardened. We've got to be this when we understand as well, right? That these people have been at war with us for thousands of years, and they're not going to stop anytime soon. Which is why these things are continuing in the way that they do, right? There'll probably be another incident in another 12 months, or could be another 6 months.
Exactly.
It's all interconnected, and what they do is, this is what I've observed and realized from the way these people behave, is they create trauma triggers for our community.
That's right. That's right.
And so therefore, obviously, this will impact on those of us that weren't even there, that are not necessarily interested in the arts, because of the very fact that we see Black people that are part of our community being racially abused. And then, as you said, which is why it's them signaling, as you said, to the other Europeans, they didn't cut it out. They got rid of the Palestinian protester. They got rid of the other slurs that were going on, but that one they kept in. So they're signaling to, from the heart of Babylon, the Bible parliaments where they all kicked off and went sailing around and kidnapping our people. They're telling others, yeah, we've still got this thing in check here.
There you go. Yeah, excellent, sis. Thank you.
It's up to us. Read the ISIS papers and the other books that you've recommended in your courses, and we're just ready for these people now.
There you go.
License.
Thank you, sis. All right, Abimbola.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, sis.
Good. No, thank you for this. It's very interesting. I don't have a TV, and I definitely don't have a BBC. I call them the blasted biased corporation because they're just so awful. And with what Sekhmet was saying, and also what Dee was saying, and Mike, we do need to be autonomous in our business and everything, right from housing, right through to everything else, education, the whole works. Because they are the upper hand. I mean, I could not believe the groveling that woman was doing, Dr. Scholler.
Oh my gosh.
To Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
That man is thicker than planks. I can't believe the nonsense. And you're on TV and you have to apologize for for not knowing what the proper access for Tourette's. The man is clearly racist. End of story. How comes he does what he was doing when two Black men were on the stage? This is rubbish. And they're using disability as an excuse, and it's this and it's that. If it was a Black man doing it, which he wouldn't be anyway, what nonsense is that? And we're just meant to accept it. And you're doing this in prime time TV.
Groveling to Piers Morgan of all people.
Groveling to some complete, nonce or whatever he is. I mean, she must be extremely stupid. And they're just still, like you say, it's code. They're still thinking code. We are on top, and that's it. Yeah. And I said, as long as we are educated and we know what we're doing, and we get together we have to have trust. Our ancestors did. Like in Jamaica, I know they had the partner scheme. That sort of thing has to happen again. They're talking about it in America. They're having sessions saying we need to have, like they had Tulsa, Oklahoma. They had various other places which were Black owned. Yeah. We've got to do that.
That's it.
And exactly. Because then you've got the other races saying, Black people don't do this and that and the other. Like where I live in North London, all the shops are Asian.
Yeah.
And we're going into them and buying crap stuff for our hair and this, that, and the other. Not me. I just go to Black. You can do it online now. It's not a problem. It's even better. You're not having to browse around shops. And if we don't become autonomous, our future generations are not going to know us. Because we would have melded into the system, I mean, I had one no longer friend who said to me, what did she say? She said, you should be grateful to be in this country.
Look at
I said to her, who's the immigrant? I went into verbal overdrive. verbally, not rude, but just verbal overdrive, and we do not ever speak again. We will never speak again.
Oh, there you go. That's it, sis. Thank you. Yeah, so we need to make sure that we're together. Yeah, and part of being together is knowing the truth, and that's the reason why I deliver my courses, family. Knowing the truth. We can't be together if one of us understands the system of white supremacy and the other one doesn't, because the other one is going to make mistakes like Dr. Shola. Now I know people love her off, but you do know that Dr. Shola did promote the vaccine. You know that, right? That's off code. Again, I don't care how great she's been championing us and talking about racism and rare tear. You promoted the vaccine, fam. People died because of you. Yeah. You, Piers Morgan, all of those people promoted the vaccine. Yeah. So sure, she's off code. And now you're doing things like acting like an expert and now groveling and apologizing. I can tell when people don't know the code. I can tell when they're off code. We have to be on code to move forward. That's the reason why the Black Americans, they're a little bit ahead of us, because you'll find that a lot of them, they stay on code when it comes to this thing. That's why you'll hear the people say, right, the Black Americans, they don't really play, you know. But over here in the UK, we don't even know about no code. We all just do our own thing. Do you understand? I know there's other people that want to talk, but we got to finish up now. So big up to everyone that stayed right to the end. This has been a big one. So when we release this, by all means, please share it with your friends, family. Everyone needs to kind of know the truth with regards to this situation, because I believe that a lot of us are again falling for the trick of just responding emotionally to this, when really we should be responding financially. We should be thinking, how can we make money from this racial incident? Do you understand? How can we benefit from this racial incident? Because they're going to continue to do this. They know, all right, say the N word, like the sis said, that's like a trauma trigger. Say the N word, and now all of a sudden, oh, they're up in arms. Now put out a picture of someone else, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's not me. Why have you put out that picture? All types of confusion. Create confusion, act fake confused, make money from it. Yeah? Where they're acting emotionally, not realizing it's a business. We need to understand how they run the business and run it better than they run it. Do you understand? With that being said, it is about working together and doing our own thing. So the Hidden Science Academy, we do run these community events, family. You got to come out and support us. So our next one is in Birmingham, the Legacy Center of Excellence, the Hidden Science of Black Hair. That is Saturday, the 4th of April, 2026, up in Birmingham. Family, I know I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, but we're going to give you the details for the hotel this week in our WhatsApp group. So join the WhatsApp group and we'll let you know what hotel we're going to be staying at and how much it costs and that sort of stuff. And we're going to stay, you can either book from Friday to Sunday, you can just book from Friday to Saturday. The event is on Saturday from 12 to 8. You can either get the coach up from London Victoria up until Birmingham on the Saturday, or you can join us at the hotel and make like a weekend of it. I suggest if you're from London, join us at the hotel, vibe with us for the whole weekend. Yeah. And then after that one, family, we've got the big one, the Hidden Science of Reggae. Like we were saying, you got to know your culture. You got to know, we're talking about the Windrush scandal and the Windrush generation. We got to know that story. There's a lot of stuff that they don't tell us about that story. Yeah. So this is what we're going to be doing. And this one's going to be made into a weekender as well. So big up the people that have got their rooms for the Reggae Weekender. That's from the 19th of June to the 21st of June. It's going to be a very powerful weekender. We've got special guests coming. I can't even mention the names, family. We've got some celebrities coming down, special guest performances. It's going to be a vibe, family. So just make sure you either get your tickets for the weekender or you get your tickets for the event. Now at the event, this is what we're going to be covering. How reggae influenced all popular music genres in the UK. The untold story of Bob Marley in London. Remember, if you know Bob Marley's history, after he survived the assassination attempt in Jamaica, he came to live in London. And his story in London is very powerful. We're going to cover that at the event. Why Jamaican cultural appropriation is on the rise. You're seeing it. I mentioned it last week. Yeah, the deliberate erasure of Caribbean culture on TV. Why they've always feared the Rastafarian movement. One reason why is the Rastas stay on code. Yeah, when it comes on to, you know what I mean, Bunny and Babylon and all them thing there. How roots reggae became the soundtrack for a spiritual revolution here in the UK. Why melanin resonates with reggae and what sounds activate it. The secret power of low bass frequencies. And then we're going to be talking about Windrush, the true story that they don't want you to know. And obviously a lot of you know that when we are talking about investigations, they are currently investigating the Windrush scandal. You now know when they say they're going to investigate, it means they're going to do nothing. So we can't rely on these people to do investigations and come to conclusions, because you now know if they say they're going to investigate something, it means they're going to do absolutely nothing. But check this out. Laws created to reduce non-white population in the UK, says long-awaited Windrush report. So they're not even being covert with it now. They're not even being covert with it. They're getting to the point where they're just like, yeah, let's just say the N-word and tell them to get out. Let's just say the N-word and tell them to go back to their country. Yeah? So this is the reason why we do what we do, family. Cultural event, doing our own thing. We don't need to rely on no one. Do you understand? We can just do our own thing, put on our own events, do our own courses, educate each other ourselves. We don't need to rely on the system and the usual suspects. That's crazy. You get me? So yeah, big up the people that have got their tickets for this. Over 300 tickets have gone so far, so it's going to be a madness at this event, family. This is your first time tuning into the Marshall's Minute in podcast. Check out this event.
The Hidden Science of Reggae 2026. What impact has reggae music had on UK culture? Can melanin be activated by the low bass frequencies in roots reggae? Is the Windrush scandal a deliberate attempt to erase the powerful influence of Caribbean culture from British society? And what really happened to Bob Marley whilst he was in exile in London? All will be revealed at the most mind-blowing, historically informative, culturally relevant event of the last decade. The Hidden Science Academy, in collaboration with Hidden Truth and New Initiatives Catering, presents The Hidden Science of Reggae, Saturday the 20th of June 2026, from 12 to 8 p.m. at the Radisson Red Hotel, Heathrow. This event is an unbelievable exploration of reggae music, Caribbean culture. Come and experience an educational conference like no other. Speakers dropping the knowledge on the day include Robin Walker, the Black History Man, Andrew Muhammad, the investigator, Leon Marshall, the scientist, Lady Adele, the Hidden Truth Queen, Culture Mark from Black History Study, and some very special guests. This event is not to be missed. Get your early bird tickets today by visiting theinvestigator.org.uk/reggae, or extend this experience by booking a room at our Reggae Weekender, theinvestigator.org.uk/reggae weekender. Let's celebrate our culture like never before. Don't miss out. Get your tickets today.
This is what we don't do. We don't complain. You get what I'm saying? We just do our own thing, and I've been doing this for damn near 10 years. Again, like I said, I was doing this like white supremacy courses and all that from all 10 years ago, booking out lecture theaters, booking out venues, and then putting out flyers saying that the venue was a secret location. Who does that? Do you get what I'm saying? I was putting out events talking about, yeah, the hidden sites of white supremacy at a secret location. Come get your tickets. And people would buy tickets, and then I'll send them the venue location. Big up the people who came to my previous events and all them thing there. That's how you do it. We do it covert. Do you understand? We educate each other covertly, even though I've now put those lectures online. And the reason why I did that is because the usual suspects tried to attack my site so that people didn't get this information. Now everyone gets it. Boom. Now everyone can understand how you usual suspects carry on. So you always got to kind of change things around based on what they do. But the more you know about the usual suspects and how they behave, the less you'll be surprised by what they do. Nothing surprised me with regards to the BAFTAs. Nothing at all. It's all very predictable how these people carry on. Yeah. And the more you understand the system, the less you'll become a victim to it, and the less you'll be surprised by the things that the usual suspects do. Yeah. Like Neely Fuller says, if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything you understand will only confuse you. So big up everyone for staying right to the end. We've posted the links to the WhatsApp group. We've posted the links to the previous classes. So yeah, and we're going to be posting some other previous classes as well. So you guys can really get this information, share it with your friends, share it with your family. I hope to see some of you at these events that are coming up. Can't wait to see you guys in person. But yeah, big up everyone for staying right to the end. Enjoy the rest of your week, family. One love.
Genius. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time.
My name is Leon Marshall, and that concludes the end of this podcast. Thank you everyone for being a part of this. You're a part of history, trust me. And just remember, be the light you seek. Just shine, man. More light, more love, more life. One.
Thanks for listening to Marshall's Melanin Podcast. If you like this episode, share it with your friends and family. To watch previous episodes, search Marshall's Melanin Podcast on YouTube. And if you're on Instagram, follow the scientist at Leon Marshall Online. Tune in next week for another explosive episode. And remember, keep shining.